Hare Krishna. Uh, like we are seeing in the morning times, I'm presenting you the wonderful 108 important slokas of Bhagavad Gita. I hope you are enjoying it, my dear viewers. Now, from today, we will start reading Prabhupada books, small Prabhupada books daily during the night time, so that you can know more about him and you can know, what is the benefits of effective chanting in this Kali Yuga, especially, and how you can, be wise, and by always seeing Krishna everywhere and always. Okay, let's move on. Today's book we are going to start with On the Way to Krishna. On the Way to Krishna was prepared from the transcripts of lectures Srila Prabhupada gave in the New York in the fall of 1966 on the Bhagavad Gita. The editor was Srila Prabhupada's disciple Hayagrev Dasa, Howard Wheeler MA. Okay, so first chapter we will see there are total of 5 chapters. First we will see Throughway to Happiness. Right? So we are going to say what Prabhupada is talking here about. The true way to happiness. Okay, so by always remembering Krishna and chanting and talking about the glories of Krishna, definitely we all are going to be happy. So let's start with chapter 1. Every one of us is searching after happiness, but we do not know what real happiness is. We see so much advertised about happiness, but practically speaking, we see so few people happy. This is because so few people know that the platform of real happiness is beyond the temporary things. It is this real happiness that is described in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. Happiness is generally perceived through our senses. A stone, for instance, has no senses and cannot perceive happiness and distress, right? The developed consciousness can perceive happiness and distress more intensely than undeveloped consciousness. Trees have consciousness, but it is not developed. Trees may stand for a long time in all kinds of weather, but they have no way of perceiving miseries. If a human being were asked to stand like a tree for only 3 days or even less, he would not be able to tolerate it. The conclusion is that every living being feels happiness or distress according to the degree of development of his consciousness. The happiness that we are experiencing in the material world is not real happiness. If one asks the tree, "Are you feeling happy?" the tree, if it could, might say, "Yes, I am happy standing here all year. I am enjoying the wind and snowfall very much, etc." This may be enjoyed by the tree, but for the human being, it's a very low standard of enjoyment. There are different kinds and grades of living entities, and their conceptions and perceptions of happiness are also of different types and grades. Although one animal may see another animal being slaughtered, he will go right on chewing grass, for he has no knowledge to understand that he may be next. He is thinking that he is happy, but at the next moment he may be slaughtered. In this way, there are different degrees of happiness, yet all of them, what is the highest happiness? Sri Krishna tells here to Arjuna, Shukam atyantikam yattad buddhigrahyam atindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam stitas chalati tatvatah. So what Krishna is telling here, in this joyous state, samadhi state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses, established that one never departs from the truth. It's given in BG, Bhagavad Gita 6.21 verse. Okay, now we'll see in more detail about what is that. Buddhi means intelligence. So one has to be intelligent if he wants to enjoy. Animals do not have really developed intelligence and so cannot enjoy life as human being can. The hands, nose, eyes and other sense organs and all the bodily parts may be present on a dead man, but he cannot enjoy. Why? Because the enjoying energy, the spiritual spark has left, and therefore the body has no power. If one looks further into the matter with a little intelligence, he can understand that it was not the body that was enjoying at all, but the small spiritual spark that was within. Although one may think that he is enjoying by the bodily sense organs, the real enjoyer is the spiritual spark. That spark has the potency of enjoyment, but it's not always manifest to its being covered by the material tabernacle. Although we may not be aware of it, it's not possible for the body to experience enjoyment without the presence of the spirit spark. That's what we have been seeing in all the verses, soul, soul, soul. So nothing but spirit spark. That is the soul. If a man is offered the dead body of a beautiful woman, will he accept it? No, because the spiritual spark has moved out of the body. Not only was it enjoying within the body, but it was maintaining the body. When that spark leaves, the body simply deteriorates. So it follows that with the spirit in enjoying, it must have its senses also. Otherwise, how can it enjoy? The Vedas confirm that the spirit soul, although atomic in size, is the actual enjoying agent. It's not possible to measure the soul, but it's not to say that it is, but that is not to say that it's without measurement. Any object may seem to be no bigger than a point and may seem to have no length of it, but when we perceive it under a microscope, we can see that it has both length and width. Similarly, the soul also has its dimensions, but we cannot perceive them. When we buy a suit or dress, it is made to fit the body, right? The spiritual spark must have form, otherwise how is it the material body has grown to accommodate it? The conclusion is that spirit spark is not impersonal, it's an actual person. God is an actual person. The spirit spark, being a fragmental part of him, is also a person. If the Father has personality and individuality, the Son also has them. If the Son has them, we can conclude that the Father has them. So how can we as sons of God assert our personality and individuality, at the same time deny them to our Father, the Supreme Lord? Atindriya means that we have to transcend these material senses before we can appreciate the real happiness. Ramante yogino nante satyananda chidatmani. The yogis who are aspiring after spiritual life are also tasting enjoyment by focusing on the super soul within. If there is no pleasure, if there is no enjoyment, then what is the point of going so much trouble to control the senses? What kind of pleasure are the yogis relishing if they are taking so much trouble? That pleasure is ananta, endless. How is that? The spirit soul is eternal and the Supreme Lord is eternal. Therefore, reciprocation of their loving exchanges is eternal. One who is actually intelligent will refrain from the flickering sensual enjoyment of this material body and fix his enjoyment in superior spiritual life. His participation in spiritual life with the Supreme Lord is called Rasa Leela. We have often heard of Krishna's Rasa Leela with the cowherd girls in Vrindavan. It is not like ordinary exchanges that take place between these material bodies. Rather, it is an exchange of feelings through spiritual bodies. One has to be somewhat intelligent to understand this. For a foolish man, we cannot understand what real happiness is. Seeks happiness in this material world. In India, there is a story of a man who did not know what sugarcane was and was told that it was very sweet to chew. Oh, what does it look like? He asked. It looks just like a bamboo rod, someone said. So the foolish man began to chew all kinds of bamboo rods. How can he begin to experience the sweetness of sugarcane? Similarly, we are trying to get happiness and pleasure, but we are trying for them by chewing this material body. Therefore, there is no happiness, no pleasure. For the time being, there may be some little feeling of pleasure, but that's not the actual pleasure, that's temporary. It is like the show of the lightning which may be flashing in the sky that may momentarily seem like lightning, but the real lightning is beyond that, because a person does not really know what happiness is deviated from the real happiness. So the process for establishing oneself in real happiness is a process of Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness, we can gradually develop our real intelligence and enjoy relishing spiritual happiness as we make spiritual progress. As we begin to relish spiritual happiness, we proportionately abandon material happiness. As we make progress in understanding the absolute truth, we naturally become detached from this false happiness. If somehow the other one is promoted to the stage of Krishna consciousness. So let's all begin. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. I'll meet you all again with yet another beautiful speech on Krishna consciousness. Until then, Hare Krishna.